Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Art as Well. You've noticed that I didn't say good morning, and there's a reason for this, and that is I'm embarking on a new little venture with The Art as Well, which involves getting guest interviewers from different countries around the world to interview really good artists in their countries and their area. And it's a new departure, and I just thought it'd be a great idea to do this because it sort of would widen the net a bit in terms of bringing Irish artists abroad to collectors and so on, and introducing foreign artists to Irish and vice versa. So I'm sure you can see the logic of why I'm getting to do this. And we're going to start next week down in Sydney with a guest interviewer, Nick Vickers. And I'm going to do a little mini interview with him during the week, and we'll show that on YouTube, and I'll let you know about it. Just to introduce him. And he's going to be talking on Saturday to one of the most eminent sculptors in Australia, Ron Robertson Swan, who spent a period of time in the UK and trained under Henry Moore. So I think it's going to be very, very interesting. We've got a couple of other countries as well coming in. We've got the States just before the end of the year, and then Italy, hopefully, and Switzerland, and a number of other places, and including an episode As Gaeilge. And what we're going to do there is get a native speaker, an artist who's a native speaker, to talk to our interviewer. And the interviewer, I'm glad to say, is Breed Higgins Nikeda, who's been on The Art as Well before. And she's a fluent Irish speaker, and she'll be interviewing an Irish speaker. We probably have to put down some subtitles for some of us who aren't very proficient in the Irish language. But I think it's a nice departure, to get into other areas and other countries and see what's going on and not just be concentrating solely on Ireland. So with that in mind, let's go straight over to our guest this morning, who is Marie-Louise Martin. Now, Marie-Louise has the distinction of being accepted by both the RHA and the Royal Academy in London at a very young age, having just left art college. Which is quite an achievement for somebody so young. So let's go straight over to her and say good morning, or good morning in this case, to Marie-Louise. Good morning, Marie-Louise. How are you?
Hi, thanks, Alan, for that. It's very nice of you to interview me today.
Not at all, pleasure, pleasure. So tell us where you are. You're in your house, which has an extension with your studio.
Yeah, we built this studio nearly 15 years ago. It's built. It's a two-story studio. So on the ground floor is where the garage of the house was,
Yes.
and we kind of took the roof off it and redid the floors so that it could take the weight of a printing press. And then upstairs I keep all the clean things. So prints that are drying, some paper. I do my drawing up here.
Yes.
So it's all the inky things happen downstairs.
Okay. So what possessed you to get into this area? Because I know you went to college, then CAD,
Yes,
out of school, fresh out of school, I guess, yeah?
did.
And you discovered your love of printmaking. And how did that come about exactly?
I'd never made anything. I'd never made a print or a potato print in school. I mean, I didn't even do
I
lino print.
did. Yeah.
And when we were in pre-diploma, we got little blocks where we could go to different places, where we'd learn how to do woodwork, and so one of the blocks was into the print studio. And the minute I walked in, like, I just thought, God, this is a magical place. Like, it was
Yeah.
just incredible. I'd never seen anything like it. I mean, I'd seen etchings and engravings in the past, but I mean, I'd no idea how they were made. I mean, I probably read a bit about them, but it was just an amazing time to be there. And it was after all the student unrest and protests, so there was a whole new wave of tutors in there, both in fine art, which I went on to do, and I'd say even in the print studio there was probably people who wouldn't have been there beforehand. So it was a
Okay.
wonderful time to be there.
And what about your tutors? Do any of them stand out as being a great influence on you?
Oh yeah, well, my tutor in fine art when I got there was Jackie Stanley. She was my personal tutor, and she had a huge effect on my life. And then in the print studio, she and her husband Campbell, who was head of fine art, they suggested I go to the print studio.
Hmm.
because they could see that I was more, I thought I was going to be a painter, but really my heart was my drawings were
Mm.
the main things that I probably got into art school with, not my dreadful paintings. So I went into the print room it was in Kildare Street at that stage. It was a marvelous building. And it was John Kelly, it was Colleen Murray, it was Brett McIntyre. They were the main tutors there. And then they'd have visiting tutors as well. So there was all sorts of people working there. So yeah, they all had a big influence on me. Yeah.
And was it a good time in your life? I mean, did you enjoy the whole process of that? So, some people have mixed views about
Yeah, well, I mean,
time in
towards the end it
college.
was a bit tricky, but no, most of it was fantastic. I mean, the print room was extraordinary.
Yeah. And how would you define your sort of inspiration? You know, I know you go to Italy quite a lot, don't you?
Yeah, we do. That's in the last 20 years. I mean, when I was in art school, I went for a couple of weeks with some friends, and we were minding a house, and that was the first time that I
Yeah.
really got to see the Florentines and the Sienese painters from the ones from about the 12th to 15th century, and I loved those. I mean,
Yes. Yes.
really fell in love with those, and close. But I mean, it was many years afterwards before we decided we went on a holiday, and then we decided that we'd buy a flat there. So we go there
Lovely.
quite a bit,
Yeah.
and I do my big drawings there.
Do you?
I do the big drawings there, and then I come back. I have a little press over there, but the my press here is the one for the really that I
Sure.
work. Yeah.
So would you say most of your inspiration is coming from over in Italy?
Oh, it's between here and Italy.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
latest prints that are on
Yeah.
the hidden in plain sight. They're the ones that they're they have sort of developed since COVID.
Mm.
It's a lockdown. That's when I decided to use this, because I was changing from using very toxic chemicals and things like
Chemicals.
that
Yeah.
for etching. So I was
Yeah.
moving to dry point, and I thought, well, I should try something completely different subject wise.
Yeah.
So I decided to move with that.
All right. Okay. Now tell me about COVID, because I think from our initial discussion, you kind of hit a wall, I guess, when
The
it came to
worst.
COVID. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, it was the worst. I mean, I really came against, I just before COVID, I'd gone up to Anna McCarrick
Mm.
for a residency, and I just had the most wonderful week. And when I came back, there was all these rumors about, there's going to be a lockdown, and, you're not going to be allowed out. And I said, oh, this is brilliant. I'm going to have it like it's going to be like a residency at home, and nobody's going to call and going to be able to print night and day. But it
Yeah.
wasn't like that. So I had about 6 months, 4 to 6 months of absolutely nothing happening. And I didn't know, I mean, only at the garden, we have a lovely garden, and we were able to, and the weather happened to be really nice at the time. The,
Yes, that's right.
that kind of saved me. And then, like, it was coming around September after the lockdown, and I started doing a little drawing, and I thought, God, this is the beginning of something. So I decided,
What do you think drained you?
I think it was all the bad news coming in,
Is
it
it?
was
Yeah.
constant. And then there was all the films of the people in Bologna being,
Mm.
bodies, and it was just appalling. I mean, it was just dreadful, and people were terrified. I mean, we weren't, you all remember, we weren't allowed out. I mean,
Yeah.
I used to go down, I mean, one contact, I used to go down to Jackie, who lives around the corner, Jackie
Mm.
Stanley, who was my tutor. We became lifelong friends after college. And like she had to have, I mean, she's an elderly woman. She had to sit in her doorway, and I'd talk at the gate. It
Mm.
was
Yeah.
terrible. And she was a very social person. She loved going out every week. So it must have been really dreadful for her. I mean, I probably needed a break from it, but she was the party animal. It
Yeah. Yeah, very good.
was
Very good.
very difficult. And I mean, all the bad news, and I'd go into the studio, and I'd say, God, where do you, I mean, I can't go on with the work I was doing. It
Yes.
was really bad. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
very, very bad. And a lot of
Well,
people I didn't
so,
see afterwards, they just didn't come out.
yeah,
Yeah.
I know. I know. No, no, it was a very difficult time. But I think for some people, they found it quite productive,
Yeah. I mean, I
because of
thought
the lack of interruption. And
absolutely. I mean, after I got over the initial disaster, that thing where I was doing nothing, actually, it did prove quite a good time,
Mm.
because there were no interruptions, and
Yeah. But it
Yeah,
just took a long time from your point of view.
it certainly did. And it was like, even when I started drawing, I said, God, why am I doing this? You know, you just question yourself because you'd so much time in your hand.
Yes, I know. I know.
And then I started to not listen to the radio, but even like stations that usually have just music on them, they were even coming in with stuff about the lockdowns. There was no
I
escape
know.
from it.
Yeah. Well, I remember during the time when I started, which was lockdown, the start of it, that we almost had an unwritten rule that we wouldn't discuss COVID because
Absolutely.
we wanted to leave people feeling, fairly upbeat and inspired
Oh
rather
yeah.
than depressed and, you know,
It's
the
hard to get
reality
away.
of it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very
Right.
hard to get away from it.
And did it have any effect on the type of work that you were doing? Have you noticed over the years that your style or your
It
subject
definitely has.
has
And
changed?
it's actually since you asked me to do this, and I kind of was breaking down all the different times of my life, it
Mhm.
has changed dramatically. But you don't realize it when you're doing it.
No.
You know, it's not the same as the previous, series of prints or whatever. But it is very strange. And I mean, during lockdown is when I decided I was definitely going to start ditching all those toxic nitric acids and things like that. So I thought with that, it would be a good idea to move subject.
Yes.
So something that I was very comfortable with, I said, oh, no, I'm not going to do that. And to make my work life even harder, I decided I would work on very large dry point plates, which is, I mean, usually people are kind of smallish prints.
Mhm.
My things are like 70 centimeters tall. They're enormous. So I don't
Yeah.
really, I kind of, it was a kind of a touch of madness, I think, that
Yes.
made me.
Yes.
But it's interesting. I mean, it makes me work much harder. It's much tougher than etching. Etching, the acids do the work on the metal plate. Or
I
this is
see.
your um, it's your
It's a
force,
more physical thing, is it?
much more physical. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, my shoulders are really hurting after printing it or making it prelate. So it's yeah, it's
Sure.
kind
So when you said there that you did change your subject matter,
of.
can you be a little more specific in terms of what type of things you were doing?
Well, up until then, I was doing some landscapes, and I was also doing these outside imprints, which I explain later when
Okay.
we get the images up. But
Sure.
the first little print I made was a little dry point, and it was I decided when I made it that I was going to do something for other people with it. So I decided to make two editions of the same image, and it's a little lane that's going. It's also on the images later.
Okay. Yeah.
So that I decided I would make those as an edition of prints. And at the time there was that Seamus Heaney quote that everybody was using. And so I wrote to Mary Heaney, his widow, and I
Mm.
asked, could I use it on the print, as a title, and then I would give the money to create a house.
Oh, very good.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of very negative things happening in people's lives. And I thought,
Yes.
somebody needs a help out. So I thought this was a good thing. And then after that, I went into the hidden in plain sight
Mm.
prints. So they're all based on things that, during COVID, maybe it was the lack of sound and people and cars. Like if you went out for a walk, you'd spot things on the side of the road that God, I never noticed that before.
Yes.
And so all sorts of things like that. So I took those, I'd take photographs, and then I'd come back and draw them, and then I'd make a dry print out of them.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
large. The drawings are very large too.
Wasn't it a strange time in the sense that you say that you'd go out and you'd see or hear things, I think there was the lack of noise
Amazing.
changed your senses completely. Because I remember going over the bridge looking at the M50, and it was completely desolate. And you say, my
You could have
God.
had a party out on
Yes.
our road.
Yeah. Exactly.
Out chairs. It was just amazing.
And some
And all
people
the
did.
I mean, we had loads of foxes,
Yeah.
out in the street that meet you, it was
Yeah.
extraordinary.
I
I was
know.
afraid that when, things got back to, whatever you call normal, that
Yeah.
total carnage, the foxes dead everywhere. But they seem to got, they're cuter than we think, I think.
Oh, they are cute, all right. Yeah, absolutely. Um, one thing I'm really, really interested in terms of your work, right, in printmaking, is to get to the bottom of the different types of printing.
Oh, yeah.
because I'm completely confused. And even if I pretend I know a bit, I'd rather you thought I knew nothing and you'd tell me, because there are a lot of people looking at this who will not have a clue of the different types of printmaking.
Well, I think there's a very simple. I'll just have to
Yeah.
read this because it's from the Woolwich printmakers, the Woolwich contemporary art people, and they have a very simple thing of how to describe an original print.
Okay.
We define an original print as a work of art that was conceived as a print in its first instance, as opposed to a reproduction of another original work. So this would cover things like lithography, etching,
Yes.
screen print. They would be all considered because they've been made by hand.
Okay. So
Rather
by
than,
hand. So what isn't made by hand that's a print?
well, a reproduction. So that would be something like a jiggly print, or they're sometimes called archival pigment prints. So they're very upmarket reproductions, but they're not made as a print. They're made of another original piece of
So
work.
in other words, you scan an original piece and you press a button that says, "Give me 50 copies," and 2 minutes later they're there.
Yeah, I'm sure
They're
it takes a
signed.
little bit longer, but I mean, yeah,
Oh
here's
yeah, no,
basically,
no, no. But
but
the
there's no
principle I'm getting at
process.
is one is very much handmade,
Yes,
very much handmade, and
there's
the other is
no
machine printed.
handmade. Absolutely, there's no handmade part of it, if you know what I
Okay.
mean. It,
Other than I assume, the artist might sign it and put
oh yeah,
a number of additions.
yes, yeah, that happens
So
too.
as a layman, how will I know the difference between one and the other?
It's very tricky. I mean, you just have to. I mean, I think it's just learn what the different things are called. The different terms.
Yeah.
And if they're honest and they call it a jiggly print, it's a reproduction, or not all of them, but I mean, if it's of an original
Hmm.
painting or something like that, it's not handmade, basically.
Okay. Okay.
I
Yeah.
mean, some artists work with, I mean, it's a great idea. In the graphic studio and the Black Church, they've had a long history of working with artists who want to make a print. So it's
Hmm.
an addition or an addition of lithographs or screen prints or
Hmm.
etching. So the artist will work with a master printer to make the matrix, to make the original. And
Yeah.
then the artist oversees what the master printer will make. So he makes or she makes the
Hmm.
addition of 20 or 40 or 150.
Yeah.
They give the okay that they're all happy with them, and then they sign them.
Yeah. I think I've heard Tim Goulding explain that to me,
Yeah. Yeah.
where he had a master printer doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very good.
Yeah.
Or
Interesting.
some,
Okay.
some printers do it, because they're just maybe physically not able to. Um,
Yes.
so
Yeah.
it's a big undertaking, printing.
Sure.
Printing
Absolutely.
work.
Yeah. Okay. To give people a sense of how you work and all of that, Marcus has very kindly put a video together of your studio.
Yeah.
And what we're going to do is we're going to make it silent so that you can actually talk over it. I know you're talking in parts of it, but you'll probably remember what you said anyway.
I'm
Um,
hoping.
but you're hoping you
Give me
do,
quite a
and
while.
remind you, and just go through that, because I think it's very, very interesting, and it also culminates in you actually doing a print,
Yeah.
showing how you do that and the detail of that. It runs about 11 minutes, okay, just for those of you watching. So bear with me, and I'll put that up and share it now.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Mary-Louise, will you talk us
Okay.
through
So this
this?
is the outside of the studio. So this was the garage in our house.
Hmm.
So, yes, just ignore
You're
that.
eccentric, are you?
Yeah. Well, allegedly. So this is the ground floor where I have the printing press. And upstairs is where we are now at the moment. And there's a glass roof, a glass floor upstairs. So that lets all this nice light
All right.
down. Yeah, it's
Yes.
pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a nice thing. So this is me just coming into the studio and explaining really the size. So you can kind of see basically where the garage was and the side door.
Hmm.
And you can
Yes.
just about see the ceiling. So
Yes, I can see that now. And there's
that's
your press in the middle.
that's the press in the middle. So that's a Rochat press, and it's quite a large press. It's 1966 it was made, and it hasn't changed. Look,
And
there's
presumably
just
that's one hell of a weight.
the elephant in the room.
Yeah. I'd say it's a hell of a weight, is it?
Which is huge. I mean, it couldn't go upstairs. I mean,
Oh,
it come down through the ceiling in a blink. So it's on the ground floor, but we had to reinforce even the cement floor to
Did
take
you?
it. It's colossal weight.
Yeah, yeah.
No,
And how much pressure would that put on?
it puts about 300, what's a 3 tons of pressure
Does it?
on the press when you're running a plate through. So I mean, it's a pretty colossal thing.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
these the plant chests. There's a couple of plant chests that have been knocked together to make that. So I've all my work there. So it's really my life's work in there. So there are additions. They're all labeled and
Mhm.
different things. And that middle one that I'm pointed to now is the work that's currently out. So it might be editions that might sell. The other little press there is a plant chest full of paper. And it's
Right.
a bit of a mania after a while. You have print paper everywhere. And on
Yeah.
top, I dry the little tiny prints before I put them into the flattener upstairs.
Mm.
And these are the old plates I used to use they're all steel. I only had copper when I was in art school.
Yes.
Much quicker to work on, it's cheaper. So you don't feel bad about making a mistake.
And where do you get your plates and paper?
My plates, the plates I used to get from a crowd on the Nace Road, a
Mm.
steelworks. And the paper, you get it all over the place. I mean, I get some in Italy and some from Purcell in London. John Purcell, or Shepherd's in London, they're super as well.
Yeah.
Now that's where I make the ink up, I mix it up.
Yeah.
And this is where I actually make the plates or ink up the plates. That was a hot plate, but I don't use it anymore because the acetate plates would just melt. And in
Yeah.
there are the different solvents. So over here we have, that's where I blot off the paper. And
So you
there,
wet the paper, isn't that right?
there on the right is where I leave it overnight when it's a small piece. So I dampen the paper and leave it in plastic overnight, and then we got the printing press there. Oh, and almost forgot the most important thing, the tools.
Yes.
So you got scribes and roulettes, burnishers, all sorts of things. They look like weapons or instruments of torture.
Or what you might see in an operating theatre.
Very like a dentist stuff. I'm sure
Yeah.
people adapt things. Some people make their own tools. I mean, I
Yes.
think it's a little bit too much, but you'd be surprised what you can use.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Okay.
find all sorts of things. So that's all those things. And then over here are my gelatine rollers. So these aren't made of gelatin, but they're kind of soft rollers, and they're really super for rolling up a color on a plate. Now, I don't do this with the latest prints. They're just black ink on off-white paper.
Yeah.
But if I was using color, I would have used these rollers and a stencil, and then I roll the color up, and the whole lot goes through the press. Do you want to do this now? Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
So I'm just using a small plate because it's just too confusing to be there for hours if it was one of the larger plates that are behind. So
Yes.
it's a little plate that I made. It's an acetate, and it's drawn with the scribe. Very, very simple little print that I made for the fundraiser for Simon that the graphic studio organized. So I'm just
Okay.
taking the paper out of it's been dampened overnight, and it
Mm-hmm.
goes into blotters. I usually do this before I start inking up. So there we go.
Does it curl up quite a lot like that?
Oh, that's the blotters. The paper
Yes.
inside.
Yeah.
With the damp makes it do it.
Of
And then
course.
I'm just putting acid-free paper, a tissue on top of the template on the base of the plate of the printing press. So that's
Mhm.
the ink. It's a Charbonnel ink. It's a French ink, and it's a really lovely ink. And I add a little bit of black pigment because that one, it seems to need a bit more to make it more velvety. And you add copper plate oil with it.
Okay.
Um,
And it's very gloopy ink. You always think of ink as being something you put in a pan, but this is really gloopy.
not going to be running anywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, you get it. That's the consistency I like. Some people like it a little bit thinner. So there's the plate ready
Okay.
to go. And I'm now going to, with a squeegee, apply the ink to the surface of the plate. Now the squeegee is it's nice and rubbery. So it's pushing the ink down into the lines. So I'm only inking up where the image is, because it was just there all day trying to print up that to clean it up. So
Mm.
that's with scrim, and I'm just pushing the ink into all the lines. So you can see there the images, well, you can sort of see it coming through. So the ink has been pushed into the line. So
Okay.
now I'm ready to get some newspaper. Yellow pages used to be brilliant for this, but they don't last any longer.
They don't make them anymore.
Oh, they were fantastic, the best things ever.
Are they?
So
Yeah.
we're resorting to newspaper now.
Yes.
So I'm just polishing it off here. You can see that, can sort of see. So now I'm using marble dust. So you just put a tiny amount of it on your finger, and it's removing the excess, the surface ink. Now it
Okay.
doesn't go into the line, so you have to avoid that like the plague. And you don't let it, you rub it onto your hands so that there's not big lumps of it going onto the plate, because if it gets into the ink, it'll print it white.
Oh, I see. Okay, all right. That's
Want that? That's total disaster.
Hmm. And do you make your own marble dust?
Oh no, life is too short for that.
Is it okay? Thought that'd be easy with a bit of sandpaper.
Maybe if I was really bored, I'd do that, but
Yeah,
no.
yeah, exactly.
But these are
Yeah.
the large prints. These are the large dry points that I was talking about. They take an hour to print,
Do
uh,
they?
to ink up. And now this is the little trick that John Kelly from Art College taught me. So it's a burnt match, and it's brilliant for taking out highlights in difficult little spots. So you can sort of see it, but it'll be more obvious when you see the printed piece. And I mean, my finger, I mightn't have huge hands, but I certainly wouldn't be able to clean up areas like that. So a Q-tip is another thing sometimes you use. I
But the
use.
heat, is it the heat or the carbon that's actually doing that?
It is. It's some magical thing, and I really don't want to question it in case it doesn't work any
Oh, fair
longer.
enough. Okay, we won't drop it.
But that's
Nothing.
just me. It's probably something very scientific that
I'm
does that.
sure. Yeah.
I'm just cleaning the edges here because I don't want that'll have picked up ink as well. It's quite a messy, as you can see, the front of my apron is a testament to it. It's
Yes.
quite a messy business, and I generally just wear black clothes.
So the purpose of the sheet below it, is that to
Oh,
center?
that's just to make sure that the paper keeps clean, because you're
Okay.
putting paper face down, so it
Yes.
just takes some dirt on the the bed of the press. You don't want.
Which looks like glass, but it's not, I
No,
presume.
that's just another piece of acetate,
Or is
and
it? Okay.
that is the template
Yeah.
where the paper is marked, so that you get a uniform edition. So I've just dried up. I'm just testing it there against my skin, and it's ready to go. So there's marks underneath that tissue saying where the paper goes,
Yes.
because there's
And then
nothing.
there,
And that's just saving the back of the paper too. The
sure.
paper has to be damp, otherwise when it goes through the press, it would just tear. And the blankets also protect from the.
Why are there multiple layers of blankets? Is there a logic to
Well,
that?
it's just kind of traditional, really. I mean, one of them is called swan skin,
I
which is
see.
a lovely name, but I'm thank God I don't think there's swans involved.
Yeah.
Disastrous, really.
And does it take a bit of effort to
It's no,
find
it's geared. This is geared. It's not bad. But you just go steadily and slowly through rather than whizzing it through the press.
Yes.
Yeah. So you can imagine how this differs from a reproduction.
Sure,
You
absolutely,
have to do
yes.
this every time for every print. You have to ink
So if
up.
you did an edition of say 20 or 25,
It
you're doing
takes,
it 25 times.
yeah, absolutely. It could be, I mean, a large edition. I mean, I don't print a full edition anymore. I
No.
just print maybe 4 or 5 and see how they go.
Hmm. And
But
tell
then,
me, Mary-Louise, would you have to ink up each time?
yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay. So there's no residual ink, well, very little
There
that you,
would be, but not much. No,
not
I mean,
enough,
it's
not enough.
shadow. That's all you'd be
Okay,
left with.
all right. So it's very labor intensive.
It's exceedingly labor intensive. Yeah. And it's there, I'm just peeling off the backing sheet. So
Yeah,
you can see there, well, I don't know whether you really can, but there is an indentation from the pressure of the paper
sure.
against the plate.
You can just about see that. And I always think that's a very attractive quality in a print.
It is, it's lovely. You see,
Yeah,
you
I
can see
can see
there,
there. Yeah,
yeah. So there's the print.
lovely.
Yeah, it's a nice one.
Beautiful.
I had to do that or he'd kill me.
Thank you, Marcus, wherever you are.
Oh,
Well
I
done.
sit downstairs looking at that now.
Yeah, no, that's great because I mean it really does give a good sense of what's involved,
Oh yeah,
the
because
whole
people
thing.
say print and they think, oh yeah, I have a couple of those at home. I think, no, you don't actually.
Yes, I know. Yeah, yeah. No, that's good. I think we've all learned quite a lot from that. Though those who wouldn't be aware of what exactly is involved.
Yeah, it's
I think we'll
very
go straight to look at some of your work,
okie dokie. Yeah.
because therein lies a few stories.
Thank
Uh,
you. In
so we
fact, it was
should.
amazing going back and seeing. It was nice. They were like old friends turning up.
Well, this is the interesting thing. A number of people have said that to me that they've never had an opportunity before to take stock
No,
of
they're
their
in.
lives, of their life's work.
They live in the planches.
Yes, yes, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Okay, Mary-Louise, we'll let you work from there.
Am I supposed to do something? No.
Yeah, you're
Oh,
talking over this
okay.
now.
So the one on the left was in my final year in art school, and we'd gone to. I had to stand in the Dandelion in the 70,
Did you?
79.
You hippie, you
There was loads of punks at the time.
punk.
They were hanging around, and they were marvelous. I mean, they really were fantastic. But when we went to London on a college trip, they had it to another degree altogether. So I took some photographs and then I found some other photographs, and the one on the left of the two redheads, that was in my final year exhibition. So it's a
Yes,
double print and that is done on a copper plate. So it was yeah, so that was it. That was a nice one. And then the second one, the one on the right,
hmm,
it's Maud and Lottie, and I did those. They're on steel plates, and there's quite a difference to my eye. There's a
yeah,
plate tone that isn't on the other one, and this print I made in the Black Church Print Studio, and it got into both the academy here, the RHA, and it also got into the academy in London. So that was
fantastic.
a nice trip to go to. I went there with my mother, man, myself, and we took a week in London and we went to see it. And like, I had no idea how big the academy. I'd never been in the academy before. I got out of
Yes.
the land and saw the amount of work. Like it was like a little dot, little ant in there. But I mean, we came back and it kind of
But
just.
these are two separate. These are two
There are
separate.
two plates on the one. Both of them. There are two plates
Yeah.
on the one piece of paper.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah.
So it's kind of tricky to keep the colors the same on the two when you're inking
Hmm.
up. You know, I've really made it very difficult for myself. It would have been much better to have them on one plate.
Yes.
So when we came home, it was nice to let my father know that I did something. I did
With the
something
college
in
fees.
my time in college, and his fees did come to some worth.
Very
But
good.
very sadly, I mean, he died about 3 or a month after we came home from London. But he did, at least he saw me in both of them. So it's
Isn't
some
that lovely?
justification.
Yeah. Yeah. Tremendous. Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. So this is kind of harking back to when I went in the early 80s, about 81, to Florence, when a group of us were minding a house there.
Hmm.
Uh, it was in the countryside, but we went in and I was really fascinated with the Florentine and the Sienese early portraits. You know, they're all, a lot of them are profiles, and I thought they were really very, very strong and they meant a lot to me. So I decided I'd kind of bring them up to date and see what modern women would look like. They're all women that I've used for this. Um,
Yes.
and the one on the right, it won the prize for print in the Claremorris Open many years ago. And on the back of that, I got one of my first solo exhibitions in Claremorris. It was organized by a very nice man called Sean Carrain. It was very nice. John Carrain, sorry.
Yeah.
So that
Yes.
was that. And there, the etching, you see the one on the right is much more obvious. The edges are all etched, and I left them in nitric acid for a long time to get those eaten away. The only problem
So,
was, as you're
yeah.
printing them, a lot of them, little bits kept on dropping off. So they weren't big additions.
Yeah.
So I
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
next print images.
Mm.
So
Yes.
these are just drawings from my notebooks. So I always have a notebook on the go, and two of these certainly have become prints. They became etchings afterwards, and I think it's in, I think they are in one of the books that I'm showing, but maybe not. Anyway, they are ones that I've used for prints, for
Yeah.
etching. Okay,
And
so
this is in Italy.
they're the three of those are in Italy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And these, God, they seem to be all in Italy now at the moment. These are the same. I kept the same format for the frame. You know, the kind of Gothic surround eaten away.
Hmm.
So I kept that from the portraits
Yes.
in the profiles, so that there was some sort of symmetry through running through the prints, through the through my work.
Yeah.
Good to continue through, I thought. And so they're just tiny. They're quite small. They're about maybe 10 centimeters. No, they're longer than that. I just have to get a measuring tape now in my head because I'm good. I'm good at the old money, but they're about 12 centimeters. The plates.
Yes. And did you do those over in Italy, or did you come?
No, no, I did the drawings in Italy, and then I made the prints here.
Prince here, yeah. Okay.
Okay, so now this one is these are different ones again. These are from a series called they're kind of based on letters. The image is from Italy, and you've got the the etched surrounds eaten away, and behind that you can hardly make it out, but there's a letter embossed on the paper. So that's a second plate
Yes.
put through
Yes.
the press. And the tricky thing with that is the writing has to be in mirror as well.
And how would you do that?
Very difficult.
Or
With
did
a
you
lot
use a mirror, for instance?
no, I actually I got so good at it, and I was actually able to do it freehand.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, it's really mixed me up. But I don't think a lot of people get freaked out that they're looking at their drawing and then they're looking at their print and they're saying, "Oh, it's all in reverse. I can't work that way." But I don't try and do that. I mean, once I get the drawing done on I transfer it onto the plate, I
Mm.
forget about the drawing. Really, it starts moving on from then.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know.
Okay. Yeah.
And the lesson is you never put writing. Oh, this is the book I was telling you about. So
Mm.
I actually have it in my hand here, so I'll show it to you
Brilliant.
later.
Do when we're
This
finished
is
this, yeah.
this is this is about a week, and it's about the landscape changing within a week in different places. So the end papers are Calais. So they are a piece of the same paper that the papers are printed on, and then there's dried flowers or um, leaves, and they are then sandwiched on top with a beautiful Japanese paper that has gold leaf through it. So it was
Yeah.
quite tricky because you have to trap you see the ties, they have to all go at the same time when I'm making those end papers. So I have to know the exact size of how long the book is
Yes.
going to be. So this, I think that might have been hanging here, but it's been shown, that was shown I was invited to show at the RHA one year, and that was the piece that I put in it. Look
You
very.
mentioned the word Shankly or something.
Shankly is it's a term. It's when you kind of laminate by using what you call it, wallpaper paste and
Yes.
damp paper, and you can laminate. It's usually a tissue, something very, very light, and you run it through the press, and it just sticks it all together.
Ah, right. Okay. Yes. It gives a
I'm
lovely effect, I guess. Yeah.
sure other people can explain that much better than
Yeah. No,
that very vaguely.
at least you've explained it. Yes.
Kind
Yeah.
of
And do remember to show us that when we're
I
finished.
will, yeah. I have the little plate. I have the little thing. Oh, and this is the print that I printed earlier. So that
Mm.
was for the Simon community for a fundraiser. You do tend as an artist to be asked to do quite a few things like the Jack and Jill thing, and
Yes. Yes.
it's a good thing, but sometimes it's it can get a little bit too much. You can be asked too many times, and I think it exhausts people.
Yeah.
They just assume you've loads of work lying around doing nothing. So
There's
it's
a
kind
nice story
of,
though behind this, isn't there? In terms
yeah,
of the
well, this,
concept, why you came up with it.
yeah, I made this print for, I was, it was the graphics studio put it out, and everybody had to make the same print, the same size print on the same size paper and the same format. So I
Mhm.
couldn't think of anything, and I was thinking, God, it's homeless people, and I don't want anything too sad. And about 4 o'clock in the morning, I woke up, I just dreamt a nest. It's the
Mhm.
perfect thing, so delicate. it can be destroyed, you know, like homeless people can become homeless overnight. Like the slightest breeze or cat or anything can completely upend and destroy people's lives. So I just thought, you know, call it sanctum, and it's, you know, safety and about the preciousness of somebody's home. Uh, and then so when I'd made the print and I was putting away, Sheila, a friend of mine, she says, "Oh, it's a little heart there in the middle." I said, "It's no heart, it's two eggs." And she, but it's kind of nice idea that it's a heart too. So that's the story between that.
Yeah, lovely story.
It's a sweet little thing.
Yeah.
This is the one I was telling you about that I did after during lockdown, when I had the block for about 6 months. So it's if we can winter this one out, we can summer anywhere. And somebody had mentioned that about lockdown. It's several. I think it was actually, was it? I can't. Anyway, it was mentioned several times, and also the Derek Mann one about everything is going to be okay, all right. But I asked Mary Heaney, could I use this? So I made a couple of grand for Pieta for
Yeah,
this.
yeah. Yeah.
So something good came out of lockdown.
Now,
So
just going back to our earlier discussion, you've 100 edition here.
yeah,
Um,
oh,
were they
I
done in the same way?
yeah, absolutely, yeah,
100 run-throughs.
yeah. But it's a small enough print,
I see. Okay.
and it was lockdown.
Yes. What else would you be doing with yourself?
There
Yeah.
you go, night and day. So it was a
This I
winter.
find really interesting.
Yeah, but this is another thing from Graphic. Actually, I think I have a lot to be thankful for them too.
Yeah.
Um, there was a brief, same idea. It was based in the Botanic Gardens, so everybody had to make a print, same size, same format, same size paper. And I love the Palm House, but
Yes.
I just thought, well, somebody else is going to do the Palm House. You know, I didn't want to do a flower. And I thought, well, now, Richard Turner made the Palm House. So I managed to find a photograph of him. And quite a dandy. Well, he's Victorian, so he was, of course, a dandy, dandyish in the photograph I came out. So he designed the Palm House, and he also did the one in Kew, and I think he did the one in the Botanic Gardens in Belfast. So I decided what I'd do is I'd have an image of the Palm House with the palmy things
Mhm.
within his profile. So
Lovely.
that's what I did, and it sold quite well. And actually, after 30 years not getting into the Academy in London, I tried a few times and gave up because, you know, you can only take so much rejection. That was the piece that got in after 30 years.
Fantastic.
So it's a lucky print, I think.
Yeah. Wonderful.
But
And
that was that was a dry point in etching.
was it? Yes. Yes.
So maybe the
Hey,
next one.
now,
Now, this is one of my favorite paintings. And I first came across
but
it
you
when,
didn't do it.
yeah, I know I did not do that. I'd be very happy if I could manage that.
Yeah.
So when that time years ago in the early 80s that we were in Florence, we visited Florence, this stood out to me as one of the most marvelous double portraits ever. And always fascinated me was the background, because
Mm.
Italy Tuscany hasn't changed that much. Italy hasn't changed that much. So it's kind of probably identifiable to whoever knows the areas. So I decided with my print, I'd have an homage to Piero della Francesca, who painted this piece, and I do my own twist on it. So I took maybe we look at the next one.
Yep.
So I took the landscape, I took the outlines of the two portraits, and I
Yes.
filled them with the backgrounds that are behind them. And then I embossed, if
Yeah.
you can't really see it, but there's a very fancy frame on that.
You can see it. Yeah. You can just about see
So
it.
I embossed that shape. It's
Mm.
a very simplified version of that shape around around the frame. So that was the start of those. Actually, Mr. Turner's grand design, the previous one,
Mm.
that was the start of these outside in prints. So I've done a couple of them. I've
Yeah.
done about 6 or 7 of them, maybe.
Right.
Not always relating to people, you know, like identifiable prints like this. Some of them are just landscapes within heads.
Lovely idea. And to get the colors and so on,
That's the
can you
famous
explain
roll
how
up.
you do that? Well, exactly. That's what I meant.
I do the whole thing at one go. So I ink up the plate with the black ink first, and then with, you know, the gelatine rollers that I mentioned
Yes.
earlier, they're nice and
Mhm.
soft. So I make a kind of it's like a rainbow with the colors, you know, going from blue down to that umber color. And then I roll that over the plates, and then I print them
Very good. Yeah.
rather than using several different plates for different colors. I prefer doing the whole thing at once. It's
But
tricky.
that's a tricky thing.
It's very tricky. I mean, there's
Yes.
quite a lot of recycling.
Sure. Okay.
So these are the latest ones. So these are called hidden in plain sight, and it kind of was a response to during COVID, you know, seeing these things that you pass every day and really pay no attention to them. But this drawing I'd made be just before COVID, and it just kept on going. So this little shed is at the side of the road in Italy, and it's got lovely little circus. I've watched it disintegrate over the years. So I managed to get a photograph of it before all those circus posters just
Disappeared.
disintegrated and fell
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
So this is a very large print dry point. It's about 70 centimeters tall.
Okay.
It's
So it's a drawing on the left and the
and that's an acetate
yeah
dry point. So
dry
this
point.
is the start of the new work. And I
That-
put that rusty red that runs through nearly all of the prints. So that kind of, you know, when they're hanging together, it kind of runs through very nicely. It kind of pulls them together a bit, even though the subject matter is very similar, but it just helps to focus. I love rusting wrought iron.
Yes.
You know, what you call
Yeah.
it, corrugated. I love corrugated. I love
Yeah.
the old barns and things like that.
Okay.
And is this another one? This barn was extraordinary. I mean, it was abandoned, and there was loads of stuff in it. Like there was lovely ladder and tools and stuff. So you just don't know. It's really it's you know, begging the question: why did people leave these things? You know,
I
with all
know.
the belongings. I mean,
Yeah.
there's some other ones in the series that are very sad, like suitcases. I mean, like people were going to go somewhere outside a house, and I mean, I didn't dare open them, but I also came across an extraordinary exhibition that's in America somewhere about this mental institution, that the people who came into the institution came with a small bag. And when the place closed down, somebody came across all these cases with all their belongings. So some people were like dancers, so they'd be like their little tutus and shoes. And it's very sad. It's an extraordinary thing. I can't remember what it was called, but it's a it's amazing, you know, what people leave behind.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So what's next? I think. Oh, this was. I love this one. This now, jokingly, we call this, Marcus and myself. This is Ted's caravan, but it's not Ted's caravan. It's an abandoned caravan in the woods, and you see them everywhere. I mean, I thought this was very unusual, and since I made this print, they're everywhere.
Really.
It's just quite incredible, and particularly in Italy, they seem to repurpose them for like they grow things in them, or they have them for tool sheds. It's just I just find them amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Extraordinary.
wonder about the lives lived in them, you know,
Yeah.
the holidays people had, and you'd love if they could talk or you could hear their voices.
Yes. It's
Yeah,
almost as if people disappeared in just
yeah,
one day and left everything.
everything.
Yeah,
It's bizarre.
it is.
Yeah. So this is the show. This is amazing. This was the lovely show that I had. I mean, that's me saying it's lovely, but I really was it was the first time all these pieces were together. So there was a wall of the drawings for the prints,
Yeah.
and then all the prints on the walls were there were, I think there were 22, 24 of them. They were all framed uniformly. So it was the most together exhibition, solo exhibition I've ever had.
Yes. Where is it exactly?
This was at the Esker Arts Centre in Tullamore, and
Tullamore.
that was earlier this year. So it was very nice, and I gave a few demonstrations there, and it was lovely to meet people, and yeah, it was a lovely. It was. I'm hoping this show will travel.
Yeah.
It's going to Italy next year.
And Mary-Louise, is that a purpose-built gallery?
Yeah, it's brand new, and there's
Looks
another
like.
art. It's fabulous. It's a
Yeah.
whole art center. There's a cinema. There's a. It's just amazing, and underneath this, there's the same space again.
Really.
It's amazing. It's a
I've
beautiful.
never been there. And
Well,
that's Tullamore, which is basically the center of Ireland, isn't it?
yeah, it was lovely. It was a great opportunity and really lovely people to work with as well.
Wonderful. And there's a final slide of you against that wall there.
It gives you an idea of the yeah, there's a few TED caravans there.
Yes, there are. There are.
Yeah,
But none from Craggy Island. They're all from Italy.
These are post Craggy Island.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I think that's it, isn't it? Yes.
I
Yeah.
think so, yeah.
That's fantastic. Fantastic. Thanks for that, Marie-Louise.
Yeah, it's nice to see it in context.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I actually don't, I mean, me trying to explain what I did in the past is pointless, really, until you see.
Yeah, exactly. Now, a couple of comments before we let everybody in. Margie Dunn says, sorry, I have to leave. Oh, I'm sorry, Margie. Anyway, you can watch the recording. Desmond, great tip with the matchstick. Never knew that.
There you go.
Not many people do
John
know
Kelly.
that. Yeah. Maria Gabriela says, hi, Alan. I don't know if you noticed that Flavia is connected to. Do you know what that means? Flavia? Okay, sorry, I don't quite understand that, Maria, if you want to come back and explain yourself. Yvonne says, if the marble pounder is toxic, I guess. Yes. Is it toxic?
I have no idea. Everything's
I wouldn't have thought so.
I wouldn't have thought so. I suppose if you were breathing it, but I mean,
yeah,
you use it for a very short time. It's just at the very end.
Sure. And it seems to be almost semi-liquid, is it? Or when you put it on your hand, is it not?
No, totally dry. Yeah, I mean that's it. It lifts the ink off the plate.
Yes, and very effectively.
Yeah.
Catherine Gagan says, enjoy the demo, Mary-Louise. Do you ever get repetitive strained shoulder pain?
Yes.
Yes. Would you like to tell us about it?
No. No. I mean, look, there's no pain without gain. Is that what
No,
you say?
no, but seriously, you do you? You do suffer from that the odd time.
Yeah, the odd time.
Okay. Bridget Connaughton, Mary-Louise, I first heard about you through the late Charlie Brady.
Oh yeah, he was a tutor of mine.
Was he?
Yeah, very nice. He was a great supporter. Yeah, he was a super
Catherine Green, thank you. Catherine Green says, I've always admired and loved your work.
Thank you, Catherine. We were in art school together.
Oh, were you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yvonne, the portrait rings are very clever. What are the portrait rings?
Portrait ring.
I'm not sure what you mean by that, Yvonne. Maybe you might come back.
Quite serious, would it be?
Not too sure, but anyway, maybe Yvonne might come up and talk to us about that. Colin says, well done, ML. I wish I could call you ML to be shorter.
Just don't call me early in the morning.
Exactly. Love your work and delighted to have one of your pieces from last year's Open Studio. Now, I always enjoy a narrative, and yours on your Sanctum for Simon piece I particularly enjoyed. And how lovely that Sheila saw a heart where there were two eggs. Continued success. Kissy, kissy. David Goldberg. I have to leave you, but keep rocking, Mary-Louise. Very good. Angie Shannon, wonderful insight into your work, print demo, and great tips, drawing in fabulous prints. Thank you. Maria Gabriela, congratulations on your work, Mary-Louise. It's amazing. Brian Gallagher, lovely work. Thanks. Noreen Nathan, glad to hear you talk about your process. Great tips. The marble powder and the matchstick. Yeah, both very novel sounding, aren't they? Dennis Kelly.
Marble powder, or it gets into the line. You have to be careful. It's just really to dry off your finger.
Sure. Yeah, you need to be very precise.
Otherwise, you could on your hand.
Dennis Kelly says, love the silhouettes. Yes, I love them too. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to allow everyone to unmute themselves. So if anyone wants to say anything in person, please do so. But do put on your camera because we'd like to see you. Yes, Yvonne.
Oh, can you hear me? Just to correct myself, my misprint. The word was print. Your profile prints were just lovely. I thought very clever. I really loved them. Using the palm inside the profile.
Wasn't it lovely?
Yeah, gorgeous, lovely.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I absolutely agree. Thanks for clearing that up.
Clearing up that.
Yeah, I thought it was me. Okay, anybody else like to make a comment or ask a question?
Hello.
Carol.
Oh, Carol, where are you? That looks very nice.
Can you hear me?
I can.
That's not a real backdrop. That's
no,
a green screen behind her.
I think so.
I'm in Gran Canaria.
Oh God.
I'll be back. You're very welcome to come and visit. I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you. No, I'm very lucky. I have one of your, well, my niece has a present of your nest for her new home, her very first old to new home.
Nice idea.
And she's an interior designer and she just loves it. And I have one of your silhouettes from many years ago when I visited your very impressive studio on the Marion Road.
Oh yeah.
My goodness, it's a lovely studio and you work so hard. My God, I love your work. You know that. And you do a lot of stuff for charity. And I understand that knocking on the door, because I think at one stage I was giving away more than I was even selling, you know. But I didn't mind. You know, it's good. It's all good. But I agree with what you say, that you keep stuff lying around, nothing else to do it. But fabulous. Absolutely gorgeous. And that Tullamore studio gallery is amazing.
Isn't it extraordinary? Yeah.
I've been into them.
Liam Lavery says, fabulous to see your studio, Mary-Louise.
Oh, thank you.
Great. Carol, thanks for that. Anybody else?
Thank you, Alan.
Hi.
Yes.
Could I? Hi, Brenda here.
Hello, Brenda. How are you?
Hi, Mary-Louise. Hello. Lovely, very nice run through your work and the printmaking process. And congratulations to Marcus for that. And just, Alan, I think your initiative, your future initiative is superb. The idea of going abroad and so on. Mary-Louise knows I have a lovely print of hers from Italy, because we are also lucky enough, we're sort of neighbours in Tuscany as well, aren't we, Mary-Louise? And we've been in each other's houses and so on. We share this absolute love of Tuscany and Italy generally. I'm just wondering, you mentioned that that super show down in Tullamore. Did you say it was going to Italy?
The show in Tullamore?
Yeah. Did you say it was going to Italy? Well, maybe I misheard. Yeah. No, I was just wondering.
No,
Yeah.
I thought she said that too, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Brenda, did you say that particular show was going somewhere else?
Probably. It might have gone to Italy. It might be going to Italy.
Oh, that's what I think she's referring to. Yeah.
Oh, that's what I was referring to. I was wondering where in Italy. Was it in your?
Oh, it would be in Radicondoli.
Radicondoli, yeah. Okay. Oh, great. And when? Because I might be there.
I'm not too sure. I haven't.
You can let me know.
I call.
Yeah.
God, I let everyone know it.
Let everyone know.
No chance you won't know.
We let you know as well. We let you know as well.
There's something I should also mention, just a little kind of plug. I have set up with a colleague in Italy, Ireland-Italy projects. And we had our first event yesterday in Trinity College, a symposium about a 500-year-old nun who's been overlooked as a first painter, female painter, to get recognition in the Renaissance. And but we're not limiting ourselves to any particular period or anything. So we're sort of interested in seeing how we could bring have a rich relationship between our two countries that we both love. And so there might be something there, Mary-Louise. Maybe we could do something at some point.
Be lovely.
Indeed. And there might be something that, going back to what you mentioned earlier about the initiative with the art as well, having guest interviewers, there might be something we could work up together there. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Thanks very much. Thank you very much, Brenda. Anybody else before we go? No, listen, thank you so much, Mary-Louise, for everything you did in putting this together. And it was a wonderful journey through your career and what you've done. And I wish you every future success. Your work is absolutely beautiful.
Oh, very, very generous.
Not at all. No, no.
I'll be lucky.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those of you who are watching this on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and give it a like, put a comment in. All of that sort of thing generates more interest and allows YouTube to deliver these series out to other people. And hopefully now that we're going to go international, global, that will also help both our artists here and give us a taste of what's going on in other countries around the world, which will be interesting, to say the least, I hope. And I know for a fact, because it was pre-recorded, the one we're going to have from Australia next week is going to be extremely interesting. But you'll hear more of that anon, and I'll be sending you an email about it, and you'll receive that initial interview chat with Nick Vickers from Australia. during the week. Okay, so thanks all for watching and look forward to seeing you next week. And thank you, Mary-Louise, again.
Great. Thanks a million.